Hello and welcome to another edition of Comics and Beyond. I am on the Nerds Roast channel. Now, this is going to be a little bit different. I am no longer going to be the host for this show. I'm handing the reins to our new host, a new member of the team, Cutter Shotgun Dennis Murphy. Yeah.
I love the way Shotgun has fucking followed me now. Brilliant. Thanks. Yeah. I'm not even going to explain the origins of that to our fantastic guest today, Matt Skylar. How
Hello,
you doing, Matt?
everybody. Hello. Yeah, not too bad.
So Matt is here today to talk about his love of the MCU and all things to do with it. So we're going to discuss kind of some of the comic books, but as well where they come from. But we're going to kind of concentrate on that huge cinematic masterpiece that is the MCU. And we're going to talk about upcoming films in it, what we think about them, whether they're going to be good, bad, ugly, whatever in between. And we're going to have a little bit of fun at the end as well. We're going to see, can we make Matt cry?
Well, we'd never know because we can't see him.
We can't see him.
Yeah.
Is he John Cena? I don't know.
Oh, right. I'm going to kick you from the room for
Foxy.
terrible jokes. You should be ashamed of
Yeah,
yourself.
no.
So,
It's a dad joke. That's what it is.
nice. So, I suppose we'll kick off nice and easy. For instance, Matt, you were telling me the other day, like you have MCU tattoos and stuff, kind of inspiring. So clearly, it's a franchise that you really connected with and kind of got behind. And where was that starting point for you?
A lot of it really is, as a kid when you're just flicking through the channels, all the different kids ones you come across. Eventually, the old '60s Spider-Man or Batman the Animated Series or something along those lines. And for me, it was Spider-Man, which made me Marvel till I die at the very start. So I have a load of friends who are all like, "Oh, DC because of Batman," but conversation for a different day. But yeah, really, the Spider-Man, the '60s animated cartoon in particular, used to be on in, I believe. I spend my summers up in London Derry in Northern Ireland with my grandparents, and I want to say it was CBBC used to air the old '60s Spider-Man cartoon. So that's kind of, I suppose, the start, laying the foundations for my eventual love for the MCU.
Yeah,
But
I
from
mean,
there, then,
even when you've been wrestling and stuff, I see you have gear and stuff inspired by Spider-Man. So
yeah,
as well.
Spider-Man. Spider-Man, that, in my top three, but no, my favorite is just the easiest one. If either of you know how to make Thor gear, please let me know. If I can get, I don't think just gray would do. So, but yeah, no, Spider-Man has just been one of the biggest. Like one of my favorite tattoos I have is just this red and blue spider with radioactive webbing around it, and then across the back of it, it has Spider-Man's logo etched into its back.
God damn it! This is why we need a goddamn webcam.
Yeah, I know. One thing, I have this huge MCU tattoo sleeve, and I just can't show it.
Is it actually a henna tattoo? You're just like, it started to come off, so you don't want to show us.
It just washes off and I can redo when I need to.
It's
I
like
sat
those
through.
back in school. Remember with the pens, you do a shitty tattoo for yourself, like you know. But yeah, so that's where it all started. I suppose, like for me, I was a huge fan of. It wasn't the early Spider-Man cartoon, but I was a huge fan of. Was it called Radioactive Spider-Man?
Was that the one with the really weird, like,
90s one?
yeah, the '90s one with the cool intro?
Yeah, whereas Spider-Man,
The voice.
Radioactive Spider-Man. Yeah.
Yeah, great
That was an awesome show, man. And he like grew an extra set of arms and everything. It was fucking crazy shit.
I remember that was the first time I was ever introduced to Venom or Carnage in that show.
Likewise, yeah. And Venom Carnage went on very quickly to become some of my favorite characters. I always kind of like those darker characters from comics anyway, as Foxy knows because he makes all that shit for me. But yeah, I always kind of like the darker side of it as well. I suppose with the MCU, I'm a weird person in that with TV series as well as kind of movies and stuff, I tend to I might watch them bits and pieces here, but I tend to almost wait until they're all together and then binge watch it all in one thing. So like I've watched the entire MCU collection over the course of like a week, that kind of thing. And like it started with that. Actually, I meant out of the current Marvel, we'll include the TV series as well in this. Would you have a particular? I know where a particular one of the movies, I suppose that stands out as your favorite. Would it be Thor, like you were saying, or one of Spider-Man?
Probably Thor Ragnarok.
Yeah.
So I think Thor Ragnarok's like, while also being insanely funny and Thor just being my favorite hero, I think there's something for everyone in that film.
It's a great fucking movie. That's what it is.
Yeah.
You've no idea what the MCU or Thor is. You walk into that movie, they explain exactly who Thor is, what he's done, and now what he's about to do. You get the Loki story that they don't like each other, but they do like each other. It's hilarious. It's got a great soundtrack. So like it's got everything.
Yeah, I think you've hit the nail on the head there.
Get help. No, we're not playing Get Help. Like, it's embarrassing. How you love it. No, we don't.
And Get help. Get help.
It's like it is it's like you said, it's that kind of thing where it is important in a movie, in any movie in general, to be able to go in as somebody who knows nothing about it and actually be able to hang with the story and say, I don't have to have done all this stuff, but I can sit into this movie nicely. For you, Foxy, what was your kind of I suppose turn onto the MCU in general, or Marvel in general, we'll say?
Marvel in general, like it was obviously back in I'm a 90s kid, so like I grew up with the likes of the Spider-Man cartoon, X-Men, Iron Man, like Fantastic Four, all those. Like, so it was instantly I was hooked on it because they were so good. But like obviously the MCU later on, obviously I've been there from the start, like Iron Man, the first film.
Yeah.
I've seen that like at least 7 times when it came out, which is a
Jesus.
crazy amount. But it was also because like people had mentioned like in this scene you can see such and such in the back. I was like, fuck off.
Yeah.
I actually went to the cinema just based on that. I was like, holy shit, I can see it. Holy
Is that
crap.
the first one? Is that Fin Fang Foom in the first one?
Yeah, the 10 rings, and you could also see like other stuff as well, like references to like
holy shit, I actually didn't know this. Hold on.
No.
Am I missing out on a load of shit now? Am I gonna have to go back and watch all of this again?
Like the group of terrorists that kidnap him are the 10 rings.
Who now in the latest phase are facing Shang-Chi, obviously, and Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings.
We will be talking. We will be talking about that coming up as well. But I didn't know that. Obviously, there are. I am well aware that there's kind of lots of Easter eggs and stuff in it. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I think Marvel kind of started that whole post-credits little teaser thing.
That is purely their formula.
It's
a shame DC couldn't take that. They jumped the gun on that one.
Yeah, the James gun. But right, well,
very good, very good, very good.
So, look, on that, I was going to move ahead and actually, Matt, you touched on it there, just some of the upcoming stuff. Now, there's actually, I have a full list of both confirmed and unconfirmed movies, and it's actually. Jesus, it's comprehensive. Like there is a lot coming up between now and 2022 to do with the Marvel universe, and obviously one of the ones that has now started is WandaVision. I don't know if anybody caught it yet. Has anybody seen it yet? Not yet.
Not yet.
And yourself, Matt?
No, I actually have plans for after this to video call Raven Creed and sit down and watch with her.
Very good, very good, very good. I haven't either, so I'm not going to pass judgment on it, but I will say that I do have several friends that did watch it, and they were saying it's actually it's very good in a. It's kind of nailing that 60s sitcom vibe, but then there are these like kind of darker moments and these little twists that kind of leads you into there's going to be something much bigger happening here. So it interests me. I think it's a novel idea, and I think it's a it could be cool. Next
if
up,
they go there, there's a particular comic though. Just to circle back to WandaVision, there's a particular comic book that I would very much like to see them go down that realm with the Wanda character. I'm not going to spoil it in case it's true, but if you know, we can talk about it afterwards. But if you know your Wanda Maximoff, there's a really interesting story that could be done with
a particular letter, is it?
Yeah, and it's to do with the upcoming Doctor Strange movie as well. And it's if that's the way they're going with it, it's going to be sublime.
Yeah. I mean, this is kind of part of the fun of Marvel movies and stuff comes out, especially after Infinity War and stuff, is you get all these theories coming out about what they're going to do, what direction they're going to take, are they going to use this to bring Vision back and all that kind of thing? And it's all very interesting hearing the theories. And you see, the great thing about them is I didn't know it could be true, except for Ant-Man going up Thanos' ass, but that's just a missed opportunity, But
you never know. In an alternate universe, he probably done
so many alternate universes. They saw so many different ways to defeat Thanos. Well, to lose to Thanos could have been one of them.
Yeah, maybe that was a losing strategy. Yep, that's true.
That's what caused them to lose. The bonds of steel.
Just squat. Okay, right. I'm getting off this. Fuck. Right. Next up, I have down for March of this year, a new TV series. Again, please let me know if you haven't heard of this, and if you have, or your general thoughts, and if you think it's going to be, good, bad, or indifferent, or ugly, or whatever. But next series starting in March 2021, The Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
Yeah, I've looked a bit. I've absolutely looked into this one a bit because I just think I can't wait to see what happens. Who's the next Captain America? Will there even be a next Captain America? And so on. And just from the trailer alone, have you seen the trailer?
I haven't. I'm not gonna lie. I haven't. I've read a lot on it, and I know that.
Yeah.
You kind of have you have Anthony Mackie and Sebastian Stan reprising roles and all that in it. So I know that from what it sounds like to me, it sounds like it's going to be fantastic. I didn't watch the trailer yet. That's kind of I'm weird with trailers. I kind of like to go in almost blind into it to a degree. But that's my own personal thing. I'm odd. I
started doing that like in the last couple of years where I wouldn't watch the trailer. Once I know it's been announced, like great, not watching anything. I go in fully blind, and then I can enjoy it. And then I won't have that argument after with myself.
Yeah, I think. Like, do you know what ruined it for me? Was fucking Dead Island. Ruined fucking trailers for me. Because I don't know if either of you. So it was a viral ad for a video game a while back. It was and it was a fantastic ad. The game was not that. So it's just like, you bastards. So that put me off.
It won an award for its advert.
As rightly so. It was a fantastic advert, but it just was not the game.
No.
All right.
Trailers for me, I'll do the first teaser. Usually the first teaser trailer is like 30 seconds, 45 seconds, and it shows nothing. Just these are the characters. This is kind of the direction we're going in.
That's a good
After
point
that,
too,
I don't bother.
That's a good point too. The teaser trailer actually is very different than the full-on cinematic trailer. You're only getting a little taste. I suppose, that's a good point. But so sorry, Matt, I kind of went off on a bit of a tangent. It's what I do. But you were saying about the Falcon and the Winter Soldier and how you had kind of looked into it a little bit.
Yeah, because I feel like they did a really good. They set up their relationship really well at the start in Civil War. When it's like just even their small bits where Bucky's in the back and Falcon's in the front, and he asks to move the seat forward, and he just says no. I thought that was hilarious. And then when he just told him to shut, they tell each other to shut up all the time. I really hope they keep. Trailer doesn't. From what I've seen, the trailer seems to be going a bit more serious, but I really do hope they keep that buddy cop element between the two of them.
Yeah,
I mean, it would just make it more entertaining.
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, you can have that serious element, but you don't want it all like just grit and dark and all that. You want to have some lighthearted stuff, as you said. Like that was hinted at in other interactions with them. I think that would be a good dynamic as well. So next up, we have, this is one of the bigger ones, obviously, but it's in May of this year, and it is Black Widow, which I think people have been waiting for a long time.
Forever. Yeah. It was a fan idea way before there was even the announcement they were doing a Black Widow movie, and then obviously it's been delayed since. So I'm really excited for it. I can't remember the actor's name, but he plays Hellboy and Hopper in Stranger Things.
Oh,
Dave Harbour.
That's it. That's the one.
I'm so excited to see him in this because everything I've seen him in, he's been fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
And the timeline is the only thing I'm a bit confused on.
He's the Red Guardian.
Red Guardian, yeah.
That's right. Yes.
And it's set before like Infinity War. Anyway, like it's in that 5 year span
between
the
Infinity War and Endgame.
It's
Endgame. Sorry, it's set there. So
okay.
A quick synopsis of it is it's between Civil War or set just after Civil War, and she's Natasha Romanoff is returning to the former Soviet bloc to deal with some unresolved issues and kind of face off against her old family, for lack of a better term, her spy family, and it's kind of going with that. Now, this is apparently this is Scarlett Johansson's last hurrah in the MCU, where she will be leaving the MCU after this role. So I don't know what that means, but clearly she's not coming back. So she stayed dead.
Yes,
for now.
Yeah, if there's one thing I've ever learned during this entire let's call it a relationship with the MCU, it's kind of like wrestling. You can never say never.
Exactly.
That's very true too.
How long have we all thought that, like, Spider-Man's owned by Sony, we'll never see Spider-Man ever, and then we're all waiting for the third MCU Spider-Man movie. Yeah,
which I am so fucking psyched about. What was your
reaction when that happened? What was
when
your
Spider-Man was announced?
Yeah,
I remember hearing the rumor about it, and I have another friend who's also super into comic books, my friend Ahal. And when we heard there was a new Civil War trailer dropping around the same time as the rumors, we actually met up and watched it together. And then we just says, "Hey, everyone!" in the trailer, we lost our minds.
Yeah,
and then absolutely, especially for his favorite superhero is Spider-Man. The one that got me into everything is Spider-Man. We both kind of got our comic like friendship going through Spider-Man. So then to have that be welcomed into, in what my opinion is the biggest movie franchise of all time, was just mind blowing. Because even though we'd read Spider-Man with all these characters, being able to see it was
and
so cool.
On your point, that was actually, in my opinion, that was just one of those fantastic reveals. I mean, via a trailer, it was just this fantastic, just pan up on top of it, fucking with the shield. I don't think it could have been done any better. For such a beloved character to be revealed in that way, and I do remember seeing several kind of YouTube videos of people watching it and losing their shit when they seen Spider-Man, and I gotta say,
perfect part in the comic book story to bring him in is in Civil War as well, because that's a pivot point for the Spider-Man character, because the ramifications of Spider-Man in the Civil War comics lead him to dying and going to hell. Like, it's huge. So to have him introduced in Civil War was also just a nice nod to seeing the growth of that character, and then introducing him as like the pivotal part. You couldn't really do a Civil War story without him.
No, and I gotta say, as like he has to. I'm a sucker for Tom Holland in the role. I think he's perfect as Peter Parker. I'm a big fan of that as well, and just to see where it's gone, and now leading up to the third movie, like you were saying, which we will get to that, and that's probably the one I'm most excited about, because I just think it's going to be fantastic. But we'll talk about that soon. It's just you hit the nail on the head, Matt, when you were saying like it is such a never say never thing with it. I mean, yeah, we could literally see anything, and that's part of the appeal. You know, as with wrestling, again, that's part of the appeal. Anything could happen, and that's kind of what keeps us glued to it. So moving on. Up next in May of this year, we have a brand new series as well, Loki. So I don't know if you heard of this. Tom Hiddleston returning as the God of Mischief in a Disney Plus limited series. So it's following the version of the character who escaped from custody in Endgame. With kind of a divergent copy of the Space Stone, if you get me.
Okay.
So it's kind of looks like he's going to get like time travel abilities because of it and all that. So and to say as well, the ad seemed to hint that it will also have Owen Wilson, Sophia Di Martino, and I'm going to butcher that name, Gugu Mbatha Raw as well. And yeah, I can't see what it seems to be a bit of a lighthearted take, a little bit.
Yeah, I think what they're kind of going for, from what I can see, is they seem to be kind of going in this direction of Loki's going to be able to travel through time somehow. Because I'm pretty sure I've seen a screen grab of him at Roswell. So
I think you're actually correct there. Yeah, there's been a couple of leaked ones, including one in it looked like 70s New York as well. So yeah, I think you're correct there.
So he seems to be time hopping around and getting up to mischievous Loki things, which I think is what we want. We don't want to see him as the antagonist anymore. He was the antagonist in the first one, and he won us over there. So making him the lead in his own TV show, that's going to be a bit funny. Probably going to take place out of like historical events and make it seem Loki was the cause of all of them, which is just hilarious. And I think, I'm not sure is this entirely true, but I think he says hello father, hello brother in the trailer. I think Thor and Odin might also be in this show. So I think Chris Hemsworth and Anthony Hopkins might be making an appearance.
Yeah, I mean, like it looks like so Kevin Feige has talked about this particular show as well, and has said that it will create repercussions that will be felt in Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, which may be the kind of film that WandaVision and this one are kind of feeding into, if you get me, because the multiverse thing. So obviously it's not clear what they're doing yet, but it seems to be like those two, because there's one involves time travel and one is obviously using kind of quantum realities and stuff like that. It seems to be they're all leading into the multiverse thing with Doctor Strange. So
I have the funniest feeling that the title for Doctor Strange is a red herring, and it's going to be another Captain America situation where, yeah, it's Captain America Civil War, but we all basically know that was Avengers Civil War. It's going to be, I think,
that's a very good point.
Avengers
I hadn't thought of that. That's a very good point.
We're going to see some big names in this movie. It's going to be I think they're setting up Doctor Strange to be the new Iron Man of the MCU, because Benedict Cumberbatch and the character of Doctor Strange has that sort of personality, that attractive, roguish personality, but also he's a bit of a dick. So he could be the new foundation for a new Avengers. And I think Doctor Strange 2 is completely a red herring, and we're going to see I think all the TV shows are going to be in there. We're going to see Falcon and Winter Soldier in there, where we're going to see Thor come back maybe, because if Loki's involved and Thor finds out Loki's in his universe again, he's going to try and find him, because as far as he knows, he's dead.
That's a very interesting take, Matt. I got to say, and I find it hard to argue with it. Like, I mean, I actually could definitely see that happening. It makes sense what you're saying. I hadn't heard that take before, so that's an interesting one.
An original.
Like,
Copyright Matt Skylar.
You're probably right in that sense, because like the dark multiverse, it could be like, okay, forget about Doctor Strange. but the dark multiverse is probably where it's going to be, the dark version. So we probably will see, like, say for example, like Marvel Zombies possibly getting a mention, or otherwise, like you'll get those kind of universes.
Yes,
like,
yeah.
Which I'm excited about if that's the case, because how dark you can go. Like, we know Marvel can go really, really dark with their comics. But I mean, like, imagine if they go that direction with the films.
Well,
I think it's the only thing that will set them apart.
We will be getting to a movie in a little bit that I do think is actually hitting that mark that you just mentioned, that kind of Marvel going that bit darker. I will be talking about very shortly. But for now, I'm going to move on to one that we did briefly mention before. It's out for July this year, and that's Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. That's a big one again. And so, yeah, Matt, you were mentioned earlier on, you know about this one.
Well, I know about the movie, and this is the one I'm actually most excited about, because as a character, Shang-Chi is probably the one I know the least about. As far as I'm aware, he's just a super athletic dude whose father was evil. And the Legend of the Ten Rings, as we all know, the Ten Rings are a terrorist organization that kidnapped Tony Stark. If it's called the Legend of the Ten Rings, though, I'd be excited to see if this takes place in the past. Because the Ten Rings are just a terrorist organization. Why is there now a legend about them? And the Legend of the Ten Rings. We know they existed because they've been on our TVs loads of times, both as the viewer and in universe. Sure, weren't the Ten Rings also Iron Man 3 with the Mandarin?
Yes, actually, that is true. And like, I mean, that's that's the thing. This is another one of those ones where I think Marvel could do better than a lot of people in that kind of explaining where it comes from. So like you, I know very little about Shang-Chi. Yeah, it seems to be like you said, where it's just he's this kind of martial arts master. He's the details that I scrounged up. He's the son of the literary villain Fu Manchu, and he that's kind of what he went, and he kind of started fighting for good using just his martial arts kind of prowess.
I'd be interested to see if Marvel get back the rights to Fu Manchu, because I know he used to be the son of Fu Manchu, and then they lost publication rights, and it's not been deleted from canon, but it's been severely downplayed over the years.
Yes.
I know that much.
Now there is a theory that about this that you may have touched on, Matt, and I apologize if you have, but that he may turn out to be, Fu Manchu may turn out to be the real Mandarin who was
that would be exciting
at the end of Iron Man 3. So that's kind of that was hinted out. That was hinted at in I don't know if you've seen the short film All Hail the King.
I have, yeah. Well,
you have. So it was kind of teased in that Fu Manchu could be the real Mandarin, and that's so it is kind of interesting to see. Is that the route they're going to take with it? You know.
Yeah, I really hope you could see me like through my screen, because right now I'm beautiful minding all of this, putting everything back together, and I'm like, oh my god. Of course, there'll be a room for a real Mandarin, because Iron Man has clearly shown everyone that Killian Aldridge was lying, and there was no Ten Rings, and there was no Mandarin. But now there's the Legend of the Ten Rings. Whoa!
Yeah, mind blown. So, just to keep the theme going here, we'll continue on with the next in line for November of this year again, Eternals. Now, this is one I wasn't familiar with very much at all. I kind of until kind of I knew we were doing this chat with Matt, I kind of did a bit of a reading up on this stuff, because trying to get on your level, Matt, you know. But
don't big me up. We have a quiz to do. Don't big
I
me
know
up.
that's the exact reason I'm doing
it.
Hey man, you know the rules. Promos, I always build up the opponent before and fucking knock him down. You know.
Yeah.
But so this one is based on the Eternals comic book, and it's directed by Chloe Zhao, and I do apologize for butchering any names that I do butcher. So it's it's originally by Jack Kirby. So the Eternals are a race of like kind of overpowered proto-humans, and they're made by the Celestials, and they kind of harness cosmic energy and stuff. So the cast list at the moment confirmed is so we have Richard Madden as Icarus. We have again, apologies, Kumail Nanjiani as Kingo, Lauren Ridloff as Makari, Brian Tyree Henry as Fastos, Salma Hayek as Ajax, Leah McHugh as Sprite, Don Lee as Gilgamesh, and Angelina Jolie as Thena, and Kit Harington as Dane Whitman, aka the Black Knight. So
all-star.
Yeah,
high casting, isn't it, for that one?
Yeah,
Ajax.
True.
We've already met
now
Ajax, though, no?
Has
it not been recently reported Deadpool 3 is in the MCU, and isn't Ajax?
You're completely correct about Deadpool 3 is in the MCU. You're completely correct on that.
Ajax was different. Francis.
Yeah, Francis. Francis was Ajax in Deadpool 2.
Yeah.
Yeah, explain all this in Deadpool 3.
Yeah.
I can't wait for that movie.
Yeah. This also features Marvel's first real attempt at including gay characters. So it's kind of a milestone at that as well. As Fastos is reportedly married to a man alongside raising a child with him. So it's a nice direction to take there as well, that they're kind of going ahead and kind of showing some diversity in that way.
As someone who is in the LGBTQ plus community, obviously I've been very open about that on Twitter and stuff. I really hope they just don't do anything about it. I just hope the character's gay, and that's it.
That's it. I mean,
I hope there's no attention drawn to it. Normalize it.
Yes, exactly. That's that's one of the things that irks me so much, man. And I'm sure you more so. Is when it's this over, what would you say, fantasized, stereotyped version of what, rather than just rather than just a person, you know,
or they act a certain way that's like,
it doesn't need.
It's just like, oh, so that's the character, is it?
Captain Marvel was one of the best ones for that. Now, I didn't like the Captain Marvel movie, as maybe if they want. I just think the way the MCU portrayed the character of Captain Marvel is quite an arrogant character who has ultimately done some very, very good things, but ultimately semi non-consequential. Like, yes, she gets them to Thanos, but Thor's the one who cuts his head off. Yeah, she's the one who got the gauntlet where it needed to be, but Iron Man did the snap, you know?
Yeah.
So I feel like they play this character to be so important, and it's a very arrogant character who ultimately is never the one to cross the finish line, and it's just kind of semi-turned me off the character within the MCU.
My logic behind that was that shouldn't have happened. That should have Captain Marvel should have come in later, and it should have been Black Widow that got that spot. Because then, in terms of like storyline, that would have really hit hard.
It's such an awesome movie, and it's such an awesome scene when they're all doing the big war fight. The one criticism I have is that they didn't harken back to the scene of the original 6 Avengers. Imagine if they redid the circle scene, but Thanos is in the middle and it's the 6 original Avengers.
That would have been that would have been real cool. So just a little bit of info on kind of how this links into the MCU and how, you know, it may be used. So the Celestials have appeared in passing in both Guardians of the Galaxy movies. So so the one appears in a hologram during the Collector scene, and then as well, of course, Ego is a Celestial.
Isn't Nowhere also a Celestial, a dead Celestial?
It's like
correct.
The corpse of a Celestial.
It's the severed head, I believe. Of a dying Celestial. But real quick, sorry, back to the Captain Marvel thing. The comic book character of Captain Marvel is a really good portrayal of an LGBTQ character who's just a badass who happens to be gay. Like,
exactly. You see, it shouldn't define the character.
Shouldn't be the defining
exactly. It's fine to be their sexuality, but your sexuality does not define you. So I mean, that's kind of it. It's just one of those things. It's a little pet peeve for me, and again, I'm sure even more so for you, Matt.
It's a small thing for me as well. Unless your entire point of the movie is to bring up the issues of the LGBTQ community, then that should really be a focal point. But if your character is just gay, I really hope we just see these two male characters kiss. You introduce their son, and that's that.
Yep, that's it. That's all it needs to be. I don't see why it would need to be anything else, really.
It shouldn't be like
this is Marvel's first only confirmed step into the LGBTQ community, I believe.
That's very true too. There has been, I mean, it's very possible that it could go down that route. This is the only, hit the nail on the head. This is the only confirmed one, kind of taking a step into that direction. But look, time will tell. Next up, December, the one that I am most hyped for, definitely, and I'm sure both of you guys are too, is Spider-Man 3, which more and more details have come out about it. I mean, look, I marked out. I'm not going to lie. When you hear the likes of Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield confirmed, that you're just this
live
sounds
action Spider-Verse.
I read an interesting fan theory on this one in particular, where it was like, because we're doing the whole multiverse with Doctor Strange, it's completely reasonable for multiple Peter Parkers to all appear and for them all to be connected. Something that could be really cool here is that our Spider-Man that we know of now is Tom Holland. He's been to a different
we lost your audio there a little touch there, Matt. Sorry, go back for a sec.
The Spider-Man we know in our universe currently is Tom Holland has been to space. I've seen people theorizing that the purpose of bringing back Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield and doing this whole multiverse happening is to bring him back to this friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. They just do their area. He's been to space. He's been in these big cosmic fights. This could be a whole coming-of-age movie to be like, yeah, it's cool that you did this, but sometimes it is okay to be that friendly neighborhood Spider-Man.
That's an interesting take. That is an interesting take.
It's actually a good way of keeping them grounded in that sense.
Yeah. Because I mean, you've hit it like very quickly. Spider-Man's off to space. They're like, like real quick. And also, of course, which I liked personally, but in the first Spider-Man, we're much like with the game, etc. We're launched in where he's already Spider-Man. That's it. We're going ahead. We don't have this big origin story. We don't need it. I agree, and I liked it. But it kind of to go back to Matt's point, it never gave us that friendly neighborhood Spider-Man vibe because we jumped right into when he's been doing this for a while.
The second time you meet him is in Germany. The second time you see him, he's in Germany. That's not friendly neighborhood Spider-Man anymore. That's international Spider-Man.
That's worldwide.
Spider-Man worldwide. But,
Spider-Man Incorporated.
Yeah, look, I mean, there's so many theories about this movie and what's happening. This movie is going to slot into phase 4. But it is kind of possible, and I've seen it theorized that the kind of Spider-Man will almost be linking into the first or possibly the first phase 5 film, and which would be based on multiverse instability. And kind of going off that.
This is another thing that makes me believe that Doctor Strange will be an Avengers title rather than just a Doctor Strange title, because there's no Avengers movie been announced. Yeah, so you have to get him somewhere. If everyone's feeding into this system, I feel like we're going to get a lot more crossover with.
I mean, even looking at
crossover.
Look at it from a business perspective. I mean, Avengers did more money for them than anything. So I mean, they'd be silly not to try another crossover.
But you don't want to dip into the well too many times, like in such what is a short space of time. Like
that's why I think we'll get something like Doctor Strange being a red herring of a title, and that there will be Loki, Thor, Wanda, Vision, possibly Spider-Man, all crossing into this. And I think that they'll start using their solo film titles as a way to crossover. I'm not sure what you've read on this, but I've read Charlie Cox is coming back to play Peter Parker's lawyer as
I can't wait. If that's the truth, then yeah, I cannot wait.
Then with
that's
Deadpool
a brilliant
3,
way to incorporate him in.
And then with Deadpool 3 coming in as well, you have Team Red of Deadpool, Spider-Man, and Daredevil, then possibly all being in the same universe. We've seen in the Morbius trailer that Michael Keaton's back as Vulture. So now the Venomverse is crossing into the MCU.
Yeah.
I theorize that if this is, you've had Homecoming, Far From Home, before we found out about the Vulture and Morbius being connected, I theorized that the third one was going to be called Spider-Man Homesick, and he's going to leave New York, meet Venom in California, and that's where we're going to get Carnage as well, and then have Venom versus Spider-Man and Venom versus Carnage. But now we seem to be going into Tobey Maguire.
That's an interesting one.
Because then you can introduce Toxin in that way as well, because Toxin comes from a fight between Venom, Spider-Man, and Carnage.
Yeah,
you can introduce a whole symbiote universe then that way.
Carnage was always one of my favorites, villain-wise. I was always a big fan, and of that whole symbiote storyline in general. I just liked the whole thing. Back from even when I was watching the cartoon series. So like I'm all psyched about that too. To carry on a little bit, I'm going to put 3 together here because they're all new series. One of which I was definitely not aware of at all, and I want to get your thoughts on it. So the series coming are all just scheduled for 2021 at the moment. There's no kind of definitive timeline. So obviously, pandemic, etc., that may be pushed back and changed, sadly. But at the moment, there is an animated one. It's the Marvel's first animated foray with this thing, and it's called What If. That's a new series. Another series in 21 is Hawkeye, which is self-explanatory, and also Miss Marvel is coming as a series as well. Now, that is, I did see there was a little bit of pushback against that because of the failure of the Avengers video game, which obviously featured Miss Marvel heavily, but this is nothing to do with that game at all. This is going from the comics, using the same premise, same character, but it's not connected. So there's a bit of distance trying to.
I think that video game was very unfortunately timed around the time where people were all locked back into their homes, and there's no buzz for it. You can't do any real world promotion when everyone's indoors. I haven't played it, but from what I've seen, it actually doesn't look as bad as everyone's made it out to be.
I have it, and my problem with it is, and it's you see, this is where it comes down to personal preference. I personally, I like playing solo games, single player games, unless it's with my friends that I know. I don't go online and randomly play with people. That's just my preference. And this game nearly demands for you to get the most out of it to be online with strangers and going along that, and that's not, it's not, it wasn't for me. I would have preferred, and I think I was expecting more of a Spider-Man kind of vibe to it.
I think that's what everyone was expecting, especially how successful Spider-Man was straight out the gate. I think everyone was expecting Avengers to follow
exactly suit. So I think maybe there's a little bit of disappointment with that when it's not. And it's a bit repetitive as well in that way. So look, but I see where they're coming from, distancing themselves from that. It is using, as I said, the same presence. So it is Kamala Khan and all that. It's using the same thing, and it's going to be a Disney Plus exclusive as well. Not a lot of info, not a huge info. There is a trailer out for it. But all we're getting is that like some Inhumans besides Kamala may feature. Well, we're just being told they may feature. And you also have Kevin Feige's promise as well that Kamala is going to be appearing on the big screen as well down the line. So that's obviously going to feed into that too.
I think we're moving very much towards the next generation of young Avengers, Ironheart and so on. We'll get so many different characters like that. I seem to forget the new Iron Man's name. I know it's a young girl and a hologram of Tony Stark appears where I want to say Riri Williams, but I think that's someone else.
Oh, I'm not aware of that now. Maybe Foxy may know that.
I'm a bit out of the loop for that, for the comics. So,
but I think this will be the start of next generation of Avengers coming in. Then with the newer, younger Avengers coming up, maybe with a more older, experienced Tom Holland taking the helm as the
leader, basically. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which you can see doing as he gets older.
Also with the supposed expansion of the X-Men coming in as well, there's obviously that's a school for young gifted people.
Oh, I cannot wait. I cannot wait.
So of those three series mentioned, I'll start with you, Matt, and we'll go to you, Foxy, then afterwards. Which one would be the one that you are kind of like, yeah, I'm gonna binge, I'm gonna binge watch that. I'm gonna sit down with a pizza and and I'm gonna watch all of that,
I really want to say it's Hawkeye because I do love Hawkeye. Like a big part of one of my newest tattoos is just a woman's face. We're going to color her hair in ginger and have a purple arrow sticking through her head.
Nice.
I currently have the outline done here, but it has to be What If. I'm so excited for What If because I'm a huge alternate history fan, and from reading it, it seems like it's a what if this happened or this never happened. So that's just going to be fun. And I think I've heard some of the original actors are coming back to provide the voices of the cartoons.
You are correct. So to give you an example, on What If, the first episode is going to ask, what if Peggy Carter took the super soldier serum instead of Steve Rogers?
Okay.
And you're going to have Haley Atwell, and you're going to have Chris Evans. So they are returning to voice them as well. So another interesting turn is Carter becomes Captain America, but Steve Rogers becomes Iron Man with the help of Howard Stark.
Ooh.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's the type of thing that's interesting that I really like,
Would Peggy Carter technically not be Captain Britain?
No.
Oh.
She's a British operative.
Yeah,
she doesn't work for the US.
Yeah, sorry, you're right.
That's a good point. Well, I don't know. And then there's actually another episode, which is what if T'Challa became Star-Lord? So it's tying the series together. So it's Jeffrey Wright as Uatu the Watcher. And let me see here now. Hold on.
That's the one fan theory I'm most disappointed never came to light. That the Watcher was looking over everything.
Yeah. Well, it was good to see the Stan Lee cameo.
Yeah, it was fun because it was a nod to it. But I think if they brought in the Watcher, you could have done away with so many different plot holes.
Actually, there you go. A subsequent episode. I have to just read it again. There, apologies, because Chadwick Boseman has already voiced for an episode of it, where he would become Star-Lord. So sorry, I had to read it just to make sure. But yeah, he already recorded his lines for that before his untimely passing. So I mean, I agree with Matt. I think it's going to be just an interesting, fun take on kind of a different look at what could have been, and that kind of thing. And Foxy, what are your thoughts of those three movies? If there is there one that just makes you get excited for?
No, the what if
not movies. I mean series. Sorry.
The what if series, I'm very excited about because you could also have the possibility of getting storylines that were done in the comic, like what if Spider-Man became the Punisher, or what if this event never happened. You could go so many different directions with that, but could also slowly integrate characters that we may future see on a movie. So it's a nice little transition.
It's also the perfect time to do it because if we're about to introduce an entire series of movies that are all about the multiverse, an entire series about the animated versions of multiverses where stupid stuff is going on, we're never going to see a movie where T'Challa is Star-Lord. But there's definitely that one person out there who's like, I wonder what if, and now they're going to get that moment in this multiverse-centric phase of Marvel too.
Definitely.
Now we're getting near the end now, guys. I promise. Of these upcoming movies, because we're getting near the end of phase 4 of what's confirmed, and the rest is that I'll be naming out to you after these next two is kind of speculation to a degree, informed speculation, we'll say, kind of well-educated guesses from people in the know on them. But we'll get to that very shortly. But next up is the one that we have touched on several times at this stage. It's scheduled for March 25th, 2022. It is Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. So this is, as Matt touched on, possibly the biggest movie of them all, linking them together. It's being billed as the first scary MCU movie.
Which is a lie. Who has seen Far From Home? Who has seen Spider-Man Far From Home? Do you know that scene where they're doing all the vision tricks and he gets hit by a train?
Yeah.
Terrifying to watch.
Zombie like Iron Man.
Zombie Iron Man spooked me, man.
Like,
Try watching that punk at 12 a.m. when you've nothing else to do on Netflix on a Saturday night. Awful viewing. It's terrifying.
But like, yeah, like it's Multiverse of Madness. As I said earlier, like it could allow for like those dark sides of certain characters, but would also lead to the introduction of certain characters, namely Blade, which brings in vampires.
Yeah, you see, now this movie did hit a bit of a roadblock. Scott Derrickson did leave the production, citing creative differences in January. Now, it was taken over, of course, by the legend Sam Raimi from Evil Dead and Spider-Man, of course, as well. So he'll be...
He does.
Yeah. So it does make sense that they may be billing it as that kind of darker thing that we're looking for, and with the likes of a few movies that I'll be talking about in a few minutes, it does seem like tentatively they're taking a few steps into this darker subgenre. I don't know if they're going to go full on into it properly and embrace it, but I think they're going to take a few steps and see how it pans out.
I have a feeling we're going to get, particularly with the Spider-Man movie, a fun, light-hearted introduction to the multiverse idea. And then they're going to take it south and just turn it into the, oh my God, what have we done?
Yep.
It's going to be like Pandora's box. It's fun for 5 minutes, and then afterwards, you just have a world of hell you have to deal with afterwards. I don't think
it's like Lord of the Rings. It's all happy in the Shire, and then it just goes to shit so quickly.
Yeah. The funniest feeling is that everything we're reading is completely true, that we are going to get a multiverse Spider-Man, and then we're going to get the multiverse. We have Blade is introducing the world of vampires. But then on the other end of the Sony universe of Marvel characters, I think it should be called Sony characters in the universe of Marvel, or Scum. They're doing the Venomverse. They're doing Morbius now, and we know Vulture's there, and we've seen graffiti of Spider-Man over there, but it's Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man, not Tom Holland's Spider-Man. So maybe this is all this multiverse. Blade has vampires. Morbius is obviously a vampire. All of this connecting. I feel like we're about to enter the Dark Avengers era of the MCU, because it's the only logical. We've had fun, we've had tragedy. Only thing we haven't done is horror, and it's a nice break in the narrative when you come back around with the kids to do the Young Avengers after that lighthearted method.
I agree. I mean, I think it's a nice kind of channel to take, to tell you the truth, and it stops any repetition that we may have just by default, by the nature of the movies. It kind of gives us something new to work on. You know,
touched on it, the fact that like with them opening Pandora's box, like it introducing us to the multiverse, that could lead to a future film that we're trying to resolve it. Like it's like the multiverse is collapsing on itself because of all this.
That's actually touching on what I said, where the rumors abound that Phase 5 is going to be that. It's going to be the multiverse instability, and
which is
obviously bringing it back to the thing.
Which then ties into another movie that is being speculated of Fantastic Four, because Reed Richards is very involved in that whole multiverse collapsing issue. Only problem is, if we are going down that route, we're missing two key characters who's needed for the Illuminati story. Because now you'll have obviously Doctor Strange and Reed Richards.
Namor.
You'll need Iron Man, and you'll need Black Panther. You'll need T'Challa, because T'Challa's on that. Namor can come in whenever. You can introduce Namor, but now we need someone to replace Iron Man. and whoever the new Black Panther is will have to step up onto that Illuminati plate as well.
Professor X could step in there as well.
Maybe if we're heading towards this multiverse theory, we're going to inevitably lead to the multiverse collapse, which will have to lead to the Illuminati and the Dark Panther.
Very good point. Right, moving on. Last fully confirmed one for May 2022. It is Thor: Love and Thunder, which is I'm looking at the kind of the poster, for lack of a better term, which is just the words Thor: Love and Thunder. I'm the He-Man vibes of this right now are just so strong. So Chris Hemsworth obviously returning, but not as Thor, which is the surprising one. Marvel revealed Natalie Portman is returning to the series as the new Mighty Thor, which is a twist pulled from the comics.
Yes.
Obviously. So what are our thoughts on it? Tessa Thompson returning as Valkyrie, the king of New Asgard who must find a queen, and we assume Loki, in one of his manifestations, probably will return as well. Obviously the series will probably tell us more about that too, but don't
we also have Christian Bale appearing in it?
I believe Christian Bale's tied out.
I'm looking at it now, and I think, yes, you are correct. As
Batman,
Christian Bale is he's been confirmed as the main bad guy. He is Gore the God Butcher, which is just a beautiful name. And also Vin Diesel revealed that the Guardians of the Galaxy will be making some sort of appearance as well.
You have to. You can't have them fly away together and not have like a little nod. So I know Guardians 3 has been changed from a movie to a holiday special, though. Is that not the new plan?
I will be touching on Guardians very, very shortly on the little we know about it.
Movie anymore. I think they've changed it.
It's kind of our one now. It is possible that the info I have. Look, the stuff in this is moving so fast. A lot of this stuff is kind of changing constantly. So for anybody listening as well, fully accept that I may be incorrect with some of the things saying, and there may be more info.
If you're listening to this and you think, if you're listening to this and think that, well, these dickheads know nothing, I'm basing this off information I know from what I've read and my own personal opinions. Please don't come at me.
That's exactly it. I'm going off the kind of articles that I have in front of me.
Just a guy who likes it.
But from what I see on my list here, it seems that Guardians is a movie. Seems that way. Now you could be correct because your info may be more up to date than mine. But it's one of those speculated ones. If you get me, there's a lot of speculation with not a lot of concrete info on it at the moment. But to your point, I do agree that the Guardians do kind of have to make some sort of appearance in the Thor movie, just to wrap it up in a way, or at least link it together.
This is huge as well for the entire MCU to have Thor: Love and Thunder, because from what we've seen, we've gotten 3 Iron Man movies, we got 3 Captain Americas, we had 3 Thors, and they told us that they only have a 3-movie plan for Spider-Man. But now with this being the 4th Thor, we now know that you can obviously extend characters' longevity. And like, I don't think Thor was meant to get a 4th until Ragnarok blew up. But it's now showing we can do more than just 3. People have characters have longevity, and that they're not going to get overdone. People will want to see them. I think people would have gladly paid for an Iron Man 4 if he died.
Oh, I agree. Yeah.
There's still plenty of stories that can be told with these characters. It's just a case of figuring them in and it's great because now you have the multiverse, so you can still tell them, but it allows the actors themselves to actually like, no, I don't have to follow like what I've been doing. I can actually do something different now. I'm still the same character, but from a different universe. So little things are going to be different.
Have you seen the most recent rumor?
No.
Chris Evans is apparently in talks to sign back on for a new live action spot.
Ooh. Nice.
Interesting.
And you could, just going by that, you could actually go with a movie that ties when he stayed. So that whole journey from when he was young to leading up to when he fucking met up with Falcon. So you could do that. Definitely.
With that, we're going to move on to the ones that are, some of them are confirmed. In this list, while they may be confirmed, their date is not concrete at all, and details may be a bit sparse on them because they are in phase 5 and beyond. So obviously that's a few years down the line. So these ones we're going to talk about. So I'm going to go through some of them relatively quickly. So first up is She-Hulk, the series. So this was talked about by Kevin Feige again, saying that Bruce Banner is no longer the only Hulk in the MCU, and how this is going to be Bruce Banner's cousin, Jennifer Walters. So she's also a lawyer. Now, the interesting thing on this is she, lawyer-wise, she's been known to take on Marvel characters as clients, and even go against Matt Murdock in court. So is this a way to bring Daredevil back into the MCU, you know?
If the Spider-Man theory is correct, then that's how they're going to do it. I could actually see them introducing the character of She-Hulk much earlier and just introducing, I completely forget her alter ego's name.
Jennifer Walters.
Jennifer Walters. They could introduce her as going against Peter Parker and just have a throwaway character who later becomes a big deal, because we've seen them do it before.
Yeah.
So she could just be introduced there as the opposition to Peter Parker. And number 3, Matt Murdock comes in and helps. Then obviously she gets her show as She-Hulk. But then that opens up the world of the Hulk universe. You could have Red Hulk in there, you know, Brock could go mental. He's back. He was such a non-consequential character in Hulk 1, who suddenly became one of the most important characters of Civil War. If there's now 2 Hulks, what's not stopping him from going, well, damn it, I got to do it too.
Yeah, that's true.
Definitely.
Two things you could do with a She-Hulk, TV show, Matt Murdock, obviously. The Hulk, bring in Mark Ruffalo, obvious, why not?
Yeah.
Red Hulk, so much you could do. I'm really excited for a She-Hulk show.
Foxy, thoughts quickly on that?
Yeah, like Matt touched on it very well. Like it's just the fact that like you can play off so many different elements that was up in the air for previous films that you can actually make a bigger deal of, like with this series. I mean, having Jennifer Walters probably introduced as a minor character, like, but on the opposition or even in defense of Peter Parker, you could do either or. But and then use that later on where she has her own series. So I'm excited about it.
Very good. Okay, now a big one, Black Panther 2. It is pushing on. It seems that was only delayed by a couple of months, due, of course, to the tragic death of Chadwick Boseman. So the reportedly it's set to begin filming in July of this year. Okay, so you could look probably July of 22 for a release date ish. So Shuri is going to be taking on a larger role. And Tenoch Huerta is in talks to play the primary antagonist in the story. So presumably, this is speculation again, unless new info has come out that I'm unaware of. And if you have heard it, guys, please do let me know. The film is going to detail the succession of Shuri, to the throne in her attempts to become the next Black Panther. And obviously, and then M'Baku possibly challenging her claim and kind of going about that whole thing, kind of like almost like a relaunch origin story of a new Black Panther.
Yeah.
So thoughts, Matt?
Personally, I love the idea of Shuri being the Black Panther, but I think there's a better choice, and I think that's Killmonger. We've seen villains become, anti-heroes pretty quickly. Just in between Thor 1 and Thor 2, Loki goes from the villain to the lovable scamp. Shuri and Killmonger are cousins. Obviously, we know that now. And the Black Panther doesn't necessarily have to be the king or queen of Wakanda. If the movie is, also she's such an intelligent mind that I feel like it would be a waste to put someone with that much ability to explain away issues as the main character. Like, she could just use her science mind to help Killmonger become the next Black Panther. I just think especially because I just loved Michael B. Jordan in that role. I thought he was fantastic. I thought Killmonger was by far the most engaging villain Marvel have ever done. I love Loki.
I find it hard to disagree with you. I find it hard to disagree with you. And you know, touching on your point, Shuri always struck me more as kind of almost like an Oracle character.
Exactly. Yeah.
You know, that kind of thing. Where by no means a minor character and integral to helping him many times, but and I have no objections to her taking on the role of Black Panther. But I do agree that it'd be interesting if they stick with that, or if there is kind of somebody else that they could go with, or at least toy with the idea with it as well. Because I'd almost, in a way, like to see her more as that science oracle. You know, the smarts over the brawn kind of character.
Yeah,
I'd rather
Yeah.
see Shuri take over the mantle of Iron Man than Black Panther.
There's an interesting take. Yeah, I wouldn't have thought of that now, but that's
like
that would be a good
technology
fit
that
because
they
that
have.
does have the technology kind of side to it. Yeah.
She has the brains, and if they have the technology, I believe that she could mimic his armor, or at least utilize technology.
Shuri's also incredibly funny. A lot of the best singers in Black Panther come from her.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay, next up, we have some very big movies that we're going to touch on. I'm going to ring through them real quick, and we can talk about whichever one kind of catches your interest, guys. So first up, Deadpool 3. So after each one, I'll give you a quick synopsis. I mean, Deadpool doesn't really need a synopsis, look, other than telling you that it's actually this one. It features the writers of Bob's Burgers.
Hooray!
Lizzie Molyneux Logelin and Wendy Molyneux are scripting this third film. They are the writers for Bob's Burgers. So I mean, I think that's a win. I love Bob's Burgers.
I think it's great. It's a good show.
And this is being very, very heavily speculated that this one is going to be the one that is introducing the X-Men properly into not only Deadpool. Obviously, X-Men are featured in Deadpool in a kind of a roundabout-ish way, but into the MCU, just bringing it all into the MCU now. With this movie, so bringing both Deadpool and the X-Men into the MCU. Now, how they do that, I really don't know yet. But I mean, he from what I see here, so there's theories abounding that obviously Deadpool can break the fourth wall and everything like that. So it makes him maybe the only one cognizant that there was a big change in the universe with Thanos, etc., and kind of bring him into it that way. His quest, like what happened with Thanos, and his quest to understand kind of what happened, why his life is different or whatever, could be touched on too. And presumably it's going to be the first R-rated MCU film too. It is. I mean, they have said it's going to be R-rated, and they're bringing it into the MCU. So yes, it will be the first R-rated MCU movie.
I think this is a very smart play by Marvel, because it's obvious here. If you haven't guessed by now, I'm the youngest of the three of us. When Iron Man first came out, I was 10. I'm now 23 years old this year. So it's 13 years we've been building this fan base. I don't think Marvel are going to start targeting kids anymore, and I think that's why we're going into that horror or rated genre, because their audience have grown up and expect a more grown-up plot and storyline. They're targeting what used to be me as a child. They're now targeting me again as an adult. I think you're
right. I think we've seen them evolving with us. You know,
We've grown with the
Not
characters.
with me and
the
Foxy
characters
because
have
we're
grown with
old
us.
men, but still.
Fuck you. No, but you're very right though. Like it's definitely targeting like it's appealing to people that have grown up with the films. They are playing to that demographic of people that have grown up watching it, like either from a young age or from like their late teens, 20s onwards. But yeah, like I'm excited about it because like yeah, Deadpool is the perfect way to kind of just come full circle in the tour go around to really like here's the X-Men. There you go. Mutants exist. That's it.
I slightly disagree.
Yeah.
I think Deadpool 3 should be left alone and be should be a self-referential movie of yes, we were Fox, now we're at Disney. I think a great plot to go down would be if the opening shot is just him complaining that he lost his big money deal with Fox because now Marvel owns Fox. Now it's Deadpool kills the Marvel universe. Would be just a fun story to go down. If he's pissed off that he's now pissed he's owned by Disney and tries to kill all of them, that'd be gas.
Or you could do it. It's just like, no, I'm leaving you. I'm leaving the Fox and I'm going to the Mouse. Like the Mouse made me a better offer. Like,
yeah, something like that.
Right. Okay. So, guys, I'm now going to kind of put them together now. So, because there are still quite a few here to touch on. So, I want to kind of accelerate through a little bit. So, first up is Captain Marvel 2. Again, that's probably November 22. The Brie Larson returning in a role, and one of the confirmed details that we do have about it is that the actress, sorry, let me get her name. Very professional of me. But yeah, so Iman Vellani from the Miss Marvel TV series will be showing up in this movie. So Miss Marvel will be making an appearance in Captain Marvel 2. So it'll be interesting to see what way that goes. Next up, I'll give you a chance in a second, guys, to talk about these as well. But next up is Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania.
I think this will all tie back into the multiverse theory.
It seems to be that way. It seems to be linking that kind of way because this one is taking place after Endgame. And it's about Scott again trying to get his life back on track, which he's always trying to get his life back on track. But this time he's kind of an acknowledged hero, if you know what I mean. So things are different now. Now he's an actual hero that people know. So it'll be interesting to see what way that goes. And finally, for this section, and I have a couple more to talk about after this as well. We have Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. So this one probably 2023. It's way off in the future at the moment. So basically, there's the whole thing with James Gunn where he left. Now he's back. So he is back. He is back in the director's chair for this one.
I don't think that was real. I think that was all work.
Do you think that was work?
They fired him to save face, knowing he'd come back in a few months.
I mean, it does smack of that, doesn't it? I mean, it's yeah.
Look,
I mean, it's not beyond the realm of possibility to do that, really.
Guardians of the Galaxy is going to be very good because the first two were both very good in their own rights. Like, even if you put them as separate movies. And then the soundtracks that accompany them.
Oh, fantastic.
Very, very well done.
Yeah.
So for a toured outing, like, and James Gunn knows how to handle like a group of characters and still making them all stand out in their own ways. I mean, look at Drax, like Dave Bautista as Drax. Like, it can become invisible.
Hey, I want you all to go back, right? Do this. Go back and watch Scooby-Doo 1 and 2, the live action movies. They are Guardians of the Galaxy 1 and 2.
Oh.
And they're both directed by James Gunn.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that's amazing. I'm going to go do that. That's amazing.
The characters are almost the same. Groot is basically Scooby-Doo.
That's brilliant.
Look, James
I'm the same.
He left Marvel to do DC, to do the Suicide Squad, where he is gone from one group of characters and a wrestler to another group of characters and a wrestler, and now it's just he knows how to work with it.
Yep. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to finish off the list now. I'm gonna read out the last of what I have here, and we can have a quick chat before we get into our quiz, because obviously this is going to be a long one as it is. But you know what? I think we're having fun. So
the MCU has to be a long one. It's a long story. It's been
it's a lot to it. You know,
13 years.
Yeah. So next up we have Blade, which, hell yeah, I'm all for that. That's, again, it's estimated 2023. That is announced as Mahershala Ali is going to be the MCU's version of Blade. So the Daywalker,
who pre-exists in the Marvel universe. So I'm going to be interested about that. He's in Luke Cage.
Is he in Luke Cage?
He's one of the main villains in Luke Cage.
You see, I haven't watched Luke Cage. That's interesting.
First season of Luke Cage, he's the main villain.
So obviously, look, this is Blade coming into the MCU properly. It opens up a whole world of stuff. Now you have vampires and everything coming in. So we'll have to see how this plays out with multiverse, etc. On that. Next up, Fantastic Four, which is it's actually a series. Is what I have down here, a TV series. So basically, Kevin Feige said this was at 2019 Comic-Con. He said that he essentially ran out of time to talk about Fantastic Four or mutants, but they are going to be making their way into the MCU. So I imagine like that'll be a priority to try and get them in Phase 5. For the reasons that Matt actually touched on earlier on. You know, bringing in Reed Richards is kind of important if you're going into the whole multiverse thing.
They are missing the mark though a tiny bit. To why are they trying to do it in Phase 5? Why not do the Fantastic Four in Phase 4? It just makes the most sense. It's let there, if you like.
Now, look, including myself, is a bit worried about Fantastic Four. Look, they have not had a good history. You know,
it's okay. The first one's okay. The original first Fantastic Four is a fine movie.
It's all right. But I mean, it's not up to the level that we expect now.
No,
for these movies.
I trust what's going to happen for Fantastic Four simply because it's MCU that will be in charge of it, not Sony. So was it Sony or Fox that had it?
Fox, I think.
Yeah. So
is it?
Seen their track record, and it's just like it didn't work out. They didn't know how to actually present them properly. But with Marvel themselves at the helm, they have so many stories they can pull from. And if it's going to be a series, like you said, that is actually a perfect way to do it, because you can use that series to bridge in the gaps of like, where were they?
Yeah.
All of this.
Actually, funnily enough, you said that one of the things mentioned here in this piece that I have in front of me is basically saying it's rumors again. It's essentially placing them in the 1960s, which would be during the first film, the very first Fantastic Four film, right? We'll be placing them in the 1960s, but making the world forget about them for decades. Now, that would explain their absence in all this time in the MCU, if you know what I mean. I mean, it's kind of almost a lazy way, I think, of explaining their absence, because
that goes against the rumor I heard.
Oh, yeah, by all means, let us know.
Is that Reed Richards is buying the old Stark Tower, and that's how they're going to introduce him that way, and that the old Stark Tower that left there is now going to become obviously their headquarters.
And so would that be introducing them then? Would they have an origin? Would that be the reason that
I think it's just
feature?
I think it would just be something like, you know, because we're going to get obviously Osborn Towers in there because it's already been seen in the skyline, so that already exists. Tony Stark obviously raised his own profile as the #1 scientist in all of the United States. He gets consulted for everything because he built his profile. Osborn just underneath that. I think we're going to get a bit more of that in Spider-Man. I think Reed Richards is going to be like thrown in there as like, yes, he's a great scientific mind that can finally step up to the plate now that Tony Stark's no longer here.
Yeah.
Yeah, you could.
And the last ones I'm going to touch on here are ones that are don't have dates at all. They're to be announced. The rest kind of had guidelines. These ones don't. So first up is Moon Knight, which is a series. Expect to be Disney Plus again, and it's featuring Mark Spector, the Moon Knight. This again, there's very little info. It's saying like he was left for dead. He may or may not be infused with powers from the moon god, or he might just be crazy. So
I really hope it's option 2.
Yeah, so it's kind of leaving that open.
Schizophrenic man in a mask running around, and obviously, no offense to anyone who does suffer schizophrenia, it's a real disorder, and I hope they do the representation of it quite well. The idea of a world. I
was just going to say this may have. Apologies, Matt. Sorry, you go on.
If we live in a world where there's heroes, there's going to be a world of people who think they're heroes, and I think the idea of someone thinking they're a hero but not actually being one is a very interesting story to tell.
Yeah.
I do hope over as well, because it is a horrible, horrible thing for someone to have to live.
And as well, depending on when this is produced, it may have implications with Blade as well. They're closely linked. So depending on when they're produced, again, they may have a bit of a crossover kind of there on that as well. Any thoughts on that, Foxy?
Potentially anything could have a crossover with anything.
That's a good point too.
It's just figuring out where is the best time, when's the best time, and where is the best way to do it.
So next up is another series, Secret Invasion, which is starring Samuel L. Jackson, Ben Mendelsohn's son Nick Fury, and Talos, dealing with Skrulls who have infiltrated Earth and kind of going about and taking them out in that one. Interesting premise for it. I think it could be good. I'm gonna knock these out real quick and then we can go back on them. And next up, another series, Ironheart. So obviously, character was recently introduced into Marvel Comics, and so this is kind of like for anybody who doesn't know, Ironheart's a robotics genius who builds a suit of armor more advanced than like Tony Stark's Iron Man kind of thing, and it's the info I have here as well. She'll probably need it, as Tony left behind plenty of enemies who want control of his style of tech. So it seems to be gearing up that Ironheart would be taking the mantle of Iron Man. It'd be interesting to see how we do with that. Another series, Armor Wars. This is apparently, according to Kevin Feige, Tony Stark's worst fears come to life as bad actors get a hold of some Iron Man tech. Only Colonel James Rhodes, aka War Machine, will be in a position to stop them. So interesting. Guardians Galaxy Holiday Special. We touched on that a little bit earlier on. This is going to be filmed concurrently with Volume 3. Look, this could be a fucking Star Wars Holiday Special. They could be singing and dancing. God knows what's going to fucking happen on that shit. You have I Am Groot, the series. Again, that's going to be geared more to the younger audience. It's going to be an animated one, and that finishes us off for what we have from the MCU. So, anything there that you want to touch on, guys?
So the premise for that, like Armor Wars, like it's actually a great premise because it's the fallout of. It could also play into the what if scenario. It's like, what if Tony Stark's like tech has fallen into the wrong hands, and especially with him gone, like anyone could swoop in and take over.
Yeah,
I want one antagonist, and I want it to be Sam Rockwell returning as Justin Hammer.
Yeah,
what a criminally underrated character.
Yeah.
But this ties into that entire Iron Man 2 story, so it's perfect how to bring it back. The entire opening scene of Iron Man 2 is him disproving how far away everyone is from Iron Man technology.
Yes.
But now that we have Ironheart coming into it, which is the more advanced Iron Man, plus all the people who are now finally succeeding at Iron Man technology.
Yeah.
And James Rhodes obviously coming back is a huge deal. I hope it's Don Cheadle still playing it, is it?
It is Don Cheadle.
Okay,
yes,
sick.
yes.
Yeah, way better than Terrence Howard.
Yeah,
Terrence Howard, yeah.
I think Don Cheadle's way better at it. But if they're all coming back, I think it's going to be you kind of have to bring in Justin Hammer back, because it will link in the entire plot of Iron Man 2 is what if this gets in the wrong hands.
Yep.
He's the one who has the information. He got very close. What's stopping him from being the one who leaked the information?
And Foxy, you hit the nail on the head too. There's a lot you can do with this. It's a vast, open kind of arc that you can take with this whole storyline. So here's hoping. So look, guys, we've been here a long time today talking about the MCU, and we've had a lot of fun. Well, I have at least, and let's face it, that's all that matters. So right, what we're going to do is I figured we would put Matt Skylar, pro wrestler extraordinaire, we would put his knowledge of the MCU to the test with a nice little quiz.
Could we hit a timeout here? Because I really got pee. I will not be able to think.
No problem, man. No problem. You take a break.
2 seconds.
No problem. We good?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Get those loose. We're going. I honestly, I don't think this will be too bad. I think you'll nail this.
Hopefully.
So yeah, quiz time for Matt Skylar. So let's not waste any more time. We'll start off with question 1. And Foxy, tell you what, for crack, let's have you versus Matt. All right?
No.
Right.
All right, go on.
Okay, so what is? I wonder, should we do a buzzer? Or should we? Nah, fuck it. Just answer. What's the first film in Phase 3?
Captain America: Civil War.
Ooh. That is. What the fuck? Give me my answer, you prick.
He doesn't even know the fucking answers to his own quiz.
I'll give you the answers at the end, right? Fuck it. Right, true or false? The events of the Incredible Hulk aren't canon to the MCU.
Oh, this is a piece of contention.
False.
Yeah.
I want to say, false.
Okay, on which date was Iron Man released in 2008? Multiple choice. Was it April the 19th, May the 2nd, May 23rd, or June 7th?
April 19th, 2008.
Okay. Question 4. Which MCU film primarily focused on the Reality Stone? Was it Thor: The Dark World, Guardians of the Galaxy, Doctor Strange, or Captain America: The First Avenger?
Reality Stone. Thor: Dark World.
I was gonna say Guardians.
Lead
Oh no, sorry,
reality-
not Guardians. Fucking
If my memory serves me correctly, I believe it's the red one, the ether in Thor.
oh shit, yeah.
Here we are here. Infinity Rose. That's a little cheat.
Woo! Can you name the 17th film in the MCU? Multiple choice. So Guardians of the Galaxy, Captain Marvel, Ant-Man, or Thor Ragnarok?
Thor Ragnarok.
Ant-Man.
Okay. Easy. Who portrays Peter Quill?
Oh, yeah. Oh, no. Chris.
I just said it.
He did.
He didn't hear it. He
I
didn't
missed
hear
it. I
it.
didn't hear it. It's Evans, Hemsworth, and I watched a video of him rapping Eminem a minute ago. Like, you know who he is. Chris Pratt.
Yay!
There
Now here's a real tough one for you. Now this is a bit of a this is a fucking, I don't know what kind of MCU fan knows this, but here we go. How many MCU films were scored by Alan Silvestri? Was it 2, 3, 4, or 5?
3.
4.
In Thor: The Dark World, where was Thor battling the Marauders? Was it Vanaheim, Svartalheim, Jotunheim, or Muspelheim?
Vanaheim.
Jotunheim.
Number 9, Tom Holland's Spider-Man has appeared in how many MCU films so far? Is it 2, 3, 4, or 5?
Sorry, I missed those options.
2, 3, 4, or 5?
5.
5.
Chronologically, I actually know this one because I only watched them in chronological order the other week. Which MCU film takes place first? Chronologically, is it Captain Marvel, Iron Man, Captain America: The First Avenger, or Thor?
Well, on a technical level, it's Captain America: The First Avenger. But there are scenes in Thor that take place before that.
Which of these actors did not appear in an MCU film? A. William Hurt, B. Johnny Depp, C. Anthony Mackie, or D. Jude Law?
Johnny Depp.
Johnny Depp.
In Spider-Man: Far From Home, who was Ned's girlfriend? Was it A. Betty Brant, B. Liz Allen, C. Cindy Moon, or D. Sally Averill?
What was the first option?
Betty Brant.
Betty Brant.
I think it. Oh, I know Betty Brant is in Spider-Man, but I'm not sure she.
No, it's not Betty Brant.
This is the first crush.
What was it? Just repeat them again.
Betty Brant, Liz Allen, Cindy Moon, or Sally Averill?
Cindy Moon.
Matt, do you agree?
I'm gonna agree. Hearing Ned say Cindy sounds more correct. Trying to hear it in his voice.
True or false? None of the Phase 1 heroes, none of them, will appear in a Phase 4 film.
That's false.
False.
14, Avengers Endgame became the highest grossing film of all time. When it grossed, how much? Was it, Jesus fucking Christ, was it 2,797,800,000? Was it 2,798? Oh, fuck this shit. Was it 2.797 billion? Was it 2.798 billion, 2.8 billion, or 2.801 billion?
2.8.
I am going to say 2.798.
Very good. Which of the following films did not gross over $1 billion? Captain Marvel, Spider-Man: Homecoming, Avengers: Age of Ultron, or Black Panther?
Avengers: Age of Ultron.
I actually would have said Captain Marvel for that. Could be wrong though. How many films did Black Widow star, cameo, and or appear in throughout phases 1 to 3? Was it 8, 9, 10, or 11?
8.
Wait, so let's see.
If it's phases 1 to 3, then
1 to 3, yep.
So what are the options again?
8, 9, 10, or 11?
We'll go at 8. 8, yeah.
Can you name the 6th film in the MCU? Was it Captain America: First Avenger, The Avengers, Iron Man 3, or Thor?
Avengers.
Thor.
Ooh, disagreement. Which of the following films did Agent Peggy Carter not appear in? Captain America: The Winter Soldier, Ant-Man, Captain Marvel, or Avengers: Endgame? So Peggy Carter not appear in.
Marvel.
Captain Marvel? We're nearly there. In which year did Janet Van Dyne go subatomic? Was it 1985, 1987, 1989, or 1991?
1987.
I'm blind to disagree with 89.
Ooh. Number 20, which of these upcoming MCU films isn't currently set to be part of Phase 4? Captain Marvel 2, Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings, Spider-Man 3, or Thor, Love and Thunder?
Marvel 2.
Captain Marvel 2?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, so close. So we have a firstly, he beat you, Foxy. So you got a 75% score rate on that one. To be fair,
that's a B1. I'll take that.
To be fair, the only ones you missed were the likes of the scoring as and the grossing number, which, to be fair, grossing numbers were very close to each other and all that, so they were very hit and miss. But you got the orders correct, all that stuff was correct as well. So yeah, Matt Skylar, officially an MCU expert. So says us. Well done.
Thank you very much.
So yeah, well, look, with that, we're going to wrap up the show. Thank you very much for joining us. A big, huge thank you to Matt Skylar for giving us his time and joining us here for the chat today. I hope you had fun, Matt. Did you enjoy yourself? I
want to come back and do more of these. This was so much fun. I love getting the chance to nerd out about anything, so this is great for me.
Perfect. Well, look, we will definitely have you back on very, very, very shortly as well. Thank you. And thank you, Foxy, for joining me as well. He will be dipping in and out from time to time, and while I take over the reins. So for the very first show where I'm hosting Comics and Beyond, it's a very good night to you, and hope you enjoyed yourself. See you soon. Bye.